Chapter 21, Alchemy. Personality and Perception. Your personality is your personal reality. Everyone is trying to change the outside world, thinking it will change their experience in life. That's backwards. Your personality is building your personal reality. Joe Dispenza, famed scientist and author, says that every thought, every emotion, and each behavior you display determines your personality, which creates the personal reality you experience based on your perception. They dictate your very world. Think of them as the tools in your toolbox, each one shaping your life's experience brick by definitive brick. If you're honing a resilient and spirited mindset, you're not just daydreaming. You're casting a vision, laying down a blueprint for experiences that will soon walk into your life. Neuroplasticity, noun. Your brain is phenomenally adaptable. It doesn't just process, it morphs, pivots, and rewires itself. The way you think, feel, and experience the world actively reshapes your cerebral architecture. Growing pains, noun. Conceived of an idea, stemming from Latin's conspirare. It's a vigorous act of mental capture. When someone claims an idea was conceived, they're not just marking a moment, they're heralding a birth of an innovation. Spiritual alchemy. If your personality is creating your personal reality, with easy reductive thinking, you must conclude that it is you that needs transforming, not the outside world. If you want to transform yourself, where do you begin? How is it done? How will you know when you've crossed a milestone? What are the milestones of true transformation on a soul level? You begin the process of what is called spiritual alchemy. A phoenix can't rise from the ashes unless it's lived through the flames. Alchemy. What is alchemy, and why is it relevant to soul transformation? Alchemy, noun. The medieval forerunner of chemistry, based on the supposed transformation of matter. It was concerned particularly with attempts to convert base metals into gold or find a universal elixir. Occult sciences such as alchemy and astrology, a seemingly magical process of transformation, creation, or combination. On the most basic level, alchemy means change and transformation. Transformation isn't a choice, it's inherent. From the moment we're born, there's an evolutionary drive that propels us forward. Pivotal moments like transitioning from childhood to adulthood are evident. Alchemy is also connected to chemistry. More technically, alchemy is connected to the science of changing matters from one form into another. The original alchemists were associated with source energy and spirituality, not just physical transformation. They first transformed materials in the physical world with a connection to energy. The origin of these words is very revealing. The meaning has evolved, and what we now identify as the meaning is not what it always was. Even though the true origins of the word chemistry are not taught anymore, you only need to look at the modern-day definition of chemistry to find clues hidden in plain sight. Do you notice that artist and chemist have the same ending, as well as artistry and chemistry? Typically, the suffix ology is associated with sciences, not ist or istry. Ology means the science of or the knowledge of something. I'm sure you can think of a few ology words off the top of your head, and they'll likely all be connected to something we think of as actual science. Think of biology or pharmacology, sciences. So why is chemistry called chemistry and not chemology, which would follow the format of the other sciences? If it is a science, shouldn't it end in ology? In the beginning, chemistry was not a science, it was an art. It was a black art, before it came to mean something negative. On the soul. Aristotle, who in modern times is most often associated with scientific writings, was also associated with the philosophy and spirituality. One of his most famous writings was actually on self-mastery and the physical body mastery. Aristotle even wrote a treatise on the soul, which is clearly much more than physical, it's spiritual. During Aristotle's time, scientists were as focused on understanding the energetic world as the physical one. The earliest chemists understood physical transformation to be equally spiritual or energetic. One didn't work without the other. It wasn't until much later that chemistry became purely about the physical realm. How did this separation from the original meaning happen? Some early alchemists brought the art of alchemy to Europe and demonstrated that gold could be created from other materials, a miraculous transformation of matter that was considered an art craft, not a science. However, once it became known that gold, something so precious, could be created, the focus of chemistry transferred primarily onto the physical changing of matter. Over time, the idea of alchemy or chemistry became stripped of its original intent, and as an art practice encompassing much more than just the physical. The physical association of chemistry that left out the spiritual or energetic art was then perpetuated throughout history. The rest was buried in the past, with the only clue being left in the word's origin. Essentially, history reframed or hid the ancient art of transforming your soul to transform your life. Now it's all but forgotten. Spiritual alchemy. In the spiritual realm, alchemy still exists as it relates to energy. Here, it is also often associated with transforming into another form or changing oneself to reach a new level. What is the goal of spiritual alchemy? To meet, manage, and master the soul. Self-transformation. Here's how it works concerning soul transformation. Alchemy helps break down your soul into levels or stages. which, when passed and processed, allow you to transform and move on to the next level, where you can keep going towards your soul's purpose. It is a process. You don't suddenly wake up one day a new person. Famed psychiatrist Carl Jung referred to alchemy as possessing the universal symbols of life. He said, "Only by discovering alchemy have I clearly understood that the unconscious is a process." The process usually starts when something triggers a change in your life that alters how you see the world. You get a glimpse of a new potential version of yourself. Once you get that first glimpse, if you tune in and follow the steps, you can let go of the old and transform into a new you. Ultimately, spiritual transformation is freeing, as you let go of anything holding you back from your soul's purpose. Whenever you go through transformational phases, you let go of an old version to make room for the new you. Much of what you must let go of is old core beliefs, wounds, and perspectives. They must be worked through as they affect your ability to see the world in a way that resonates with you being able to advance to the next level. Overall, the original alchemy of soul transformation includes levels or stages that parallel the levels we'll go through when viewing life as a game. Knowing elemental alchemy helps you make sense of levels when you're playing your soul game. Levels in the game of life hold life lessons. By navigating these life lessons, you learn to process the experience and transmute all the energy into a better tomorrow. Challenges are tests to see if you're ready to let go of old behaviors and think enough to transform yourself and pass the level. You advance when a level is passed and the next level becomes available. At its core, spiritual alchemy is about inner transformation. As you progress on this transformative path, you'll find that releasing old perspectives and beliefs is pivotal. These are the filters through which you viewed the world, and they shape how you interact with it. However, to truly grow and evolve, these old lenses often need to be discarded or reshaped, allowing you to see the world in ways that foster growth and advancement. Drawing parallels to the notion of life being a game, one can envision stages or levels, each presenting its own set of challenges and lessons. Much like an elemental alchemy, understanding the stages in this game of life can provide clarity and purpose. As you navigate each stage, the lessons and experiences you process aid in transmuting energy into positive change. Facing these challenges is akin to a test, determining if you're ready to shed outdated behaviors and mindsets, allowing you to transform and move forward. With every successfully navigated stage, the horizon will broaden and new opportunities will emerge. It's a continuous cycle of learning, evolving, and becoming a more aligned version of yourself. 7 stages of spiritual alchemy. There are 7 stages of spiritual alchemy: calcination, dissolution, separation, conjunction, fermentation, distillation, coagulation. All the stages of alchemy are required to experience true transformation. They are necessary steps that will guide you into discovering your soul's purpose and true nature. The last step, coagulation, has the same outcome as you'll have when you learn to go through the levels of the game. It is the soul's ultimate transformation. It's where your spiritual gold is created. Once you've completed coagulation, you've reached your soul's overstanding and are enlightened about who you are. You become liberated from all that holds you back. You've reached harmony with your soul's spirit. Essentially, you've connected back to yourself. Once you've achieved this soulful awareness, the result is an aligned world, inner and outer, which is the ultimate goal. Trust that your hard work will pay off. Every obstacle you face and every door you open at each level leads to the next opportunity. When the final door is opened, your transformation awaits on the other side. What to expect. Next, we'll go over the stages in which the soul experiences transformation. We will discuss the different stages in order for you to prepare. When we know what is coming up in life, it makes everything easier in our character's journey. We are not blindsided. We are prepared and can prepare ahead of time. I wish I had gotten a warning. I will explain what will happen as you transform your life and connect to your soul. What other stages are possible to experience during a soul transformation? 7 stages of spiritual alchemy explained. Stage 1, calcination. Calcination is the breaking down into ashes. Calcination in physical alchemy is the process of dehydration by fire and the reduction of a substance to complete ash. Calcination is the first step of alchemy of the soul's transformation. In this stage of life, you are subjected to intense heat and fire, the burning of all old ways of being, bringing all your dark sides into the light to be seen. It is the recognition of faults. The spiritual burning of your soul is necessary to move on to the next phase, which is dissolution, the stage of overstanding intuition and differentiating between the subconscious and the conscious mind. Obviously, we will not be lighting our lives on fire, but you will craft letters written by hand that you will burn in the future volume. It was a life lesson, not a life sentence. As you move forward in School of Soul, you will begin to practice what you have learned. But it is important to know why you're doing what you do before you do it. The symbolism is important, because anything can be created from nothing. Ash is nothing. The stage of calcination can come up, triggered by pivotal moments in life or purposely started. By participating in future exercises, you are intentionally unloading in writing, burning what you choose to symbolize, turning it to ash and letting go. Stage 2, dissolution. Dissolution is the stage of dissolving one's identity with their false self. It is what is left after a tower moment, pure of what you've released. In the original sense of alchemy, this is the stage where the ashes of what is left are mixed with water. In terms of the soul, this is the rising of all emotions associated with the experience to be worked through. You have identified that something is not working. You must wake yourself up to the illusion you were living in. Now that you have had that realization, you go through dissolution and no longer be in a state of illusion. They say this is the returning to the womb, but is more accurately explained as a returning to pure consciousness, back to the understanding of what was once already known. That's why we call it remembering. You have not actually worked through anything yet. At this point, you have identified that something is not working, and by admitting that, you will get to move on to the separation phase, where you will now separate all your thoughts and emotions. Disillusion is a phase of choice. It is when fear can really pop up, and you can choose to go back. But if you do, you will never see what you've learned in life. Remember, the fear is because you leave behind what is familiar. It is not about where you are going. Fear is the mind holding on to the comfortable. Pro tip. It is essential in this phase not to numb with substances. As massive thought processes and beliefs shift within us, it is easy to want to quit. This is discouraged. Anytime one enters any form of soul transformation, it is recommended not to consume alcohol. We do not address this for health but clarity reasons. Being clear-headed will make sorting emotions and overstanding easier on your character during this stage. Numbing will often prolong the experience. Accept and learn the embedded lessons so that you can move on to the next stage, separation. Stage 3, separation. Great, so now you're awake to the previous illusion. Now it's time to take inventory of everything you carry because suddenly you have a new way of seeing the world. It's time to go through what you know and what you think you know. Separation is not about separation from others. It is separation of one's own self. The separation between your conscious and your subconscious. The separation phase occurs after you have moved through dissolution. You have separated yourself into pieces, meaning that you are now ready to sift through and sort through all your ideas and beliefs. What you will keep and what you will let go of. What is aligned with you and what is not aligned with you. Not the you that you have been acting as previously, but the you that is your soul. Now that you are connected with it, it is time to sort through all your character carries around in forms of ideas, beliefs, and decide what fits and what doesn't. What will you take forward with you and what will you leave in your last game? Because you've changed. Anything that no longer resonates with you will feel meaningless and separate. These are the pieces to be left in the past. The realization that you are not your thoughts and that you are not your physical body are separate entities is often experienced during this phase. The outcome is the purification of consciousness and breaking through the illusion of personality, which means purification between one's personality and soul. Stage 4, conjunction. Conjunction is the stage of combining everything back together. You have now dismantled your character, looked at what it was carrying around in forms of ideas and beliefs, and decided to let go of some of it. Now you'll begin to put yourself back together. After this phase, you should have 2 clear piles of what you've sorted all you know into, who you were and who you are. Your false self and your personality are in one pile, and the second is for your soul. Now the dark night of the soul will begin. After separation, there is who you were and who you are. They have now been separated. Stage 5, fermentation. Fermentation is the rotting stage. You will let your old self rot away. Everything, and I mean everything, will leave. If it is not aligned with your soul, it will go. When your soul wakes up, it knows what it wants and will shed what is no longer serving it. This 5th stage in alchemy is the decaying of the old self, the previous version of one's former personality, aka character. What is the dark night of the soul? The endurance of darkness is the preparation for great light, as John of the Cross said. To enhance our light, we release the dark. To release the dark, it must come up to come out. You may often hear the term wake up or woke. These terms explain a persona arriving on the other side of a spiritual awakening. However, it is better to describe it as a spiritual remembering. As we break through the illusion and meet our individual truth, it is a big change for us. Seeing the world with an entirely new sight is startling at first, and when the soul remembers, it experiences conflict, as the transition begins to match what the soul knows to its exterior physical reality. When this transformation begins, the soul often experiences a dark night of the soul. Think of this as like a detox. The spiritual body is going through a massive detoxing of all the old programming and all the previous belief systems. Dark night of the soul is an experience. We experience the loss of meaning. It is when we encounter a problem or defeat and our spirit represses due to the extreme nature of how the experience impacts us. Our entire perception of belief systems breaks, and how we see the world is instantly destroyed. The experience will leave you alone and forced to face all that is left, yourself. It could be a loss or change of career, love, or friendship. It could be a loss of meaning or a loss of the things that only gave us some sense of meaning, or idea or framework for overstanding ourselves and the world. Dark nights of the soul mainly entail a loss of meaning in life. It is the alchemical process, a major experience that one encounters, and it can be triggered. Does everyone experience a dark night of the soul? No. What tools do you have in your toolbox to deal with change, trauma, or processing emotions in life? will determine how you experience transformation on any level. Can a dark night of the soul happen more than once? Yes. I didn't know this until recently. I had not researched it and assumed it was a one-time event, but how wrong I was. I don't know what part of me was naive to think that if my worldview and belief systems had shifted once, it would not shift again. Turns out it can. How many times can I shift? Unknown. With great leaps forward in life comes change and transformation. With every transformation comes the possible experience of a dark night of the soul. The experience can arrive anytime change to belief systems or overstanding are altered significantly. Where does this phrase come from? The term originated in a poem by St. John, and it was created to describe the state when a person experiences spiritual depression. Not depression in the physical world, but the conflict of the soul, a conflict of the energetic body. Once you complete a dark night of the soul, it is as if you've woken up from a deep sleep. You will suddenly see things as you've never seen them before. For that reason, it is like waking up to a new day, and everything has changed. Just like when you're dreaming, you wake up to a different reality. Signs you are experiencing a dark night of the soul. You begin to question everything in life. Material items are no longer bringing you joy. You feel detached from those things. You prefer to be alone or think than interact with others. The more time you're alone, the more your worldview and belief systems change. You suddenly realize that you're not alone and there is something more to everything. You feel a need to free yourself suddenly, but you can't explain why. You experience ego death. You do not connect to your view of the world. You feel an immense amount of pressure to change everything in your world. The meaning of success and happiness radically changes for you. If you begin to experience any of these signs, know that this is all a positive experience and holds only amazingness on the other side. It is a blessing. The lack of connection with your exterior world is because your internal world is changing, and the two are no longer aligned. The dark night of the soul moves you through the stages of transformation to fully embody the new you, and the result will be alignment of your inner and outer worlds. We are taught to avoid pain and move towards pleasure. For this reason, we often avoid life's transformational experiences as they are uncomfortable. However, on the other side of the uncomfortable is where you're going to find all your light. What do I do if I experience a dark night of the soul? This experience can be very lonely, but not how you usually experience loneliness, being without others. This loneliness is when you realize that you are without yourself. The dark night of the soul happens within you, no longer associating with who you used to be, but not yet having arrived at who you will be next. This is the middle of the unknown. The dark territory that you've never walked creates that lonely feeling. On the other side is where union is felt. That's why connecting with yourself and experiencing this stage of transformation could speed up the process and help you understand what it is and why it is happening. Why is there no point in turning back? The only difference between a breakdown and a breakthrough is you keep going. When you break through, you don't break down. Turn back, but it will never be the same again. Plato describes this in the allegory of the cave. You cannot unsee what you have seen. To wake up to any overstanding of self is to see, and what is seen can't be unseen. How to get through it? Breathe. Sit with yourself and breathe through your thoughts and emotions. When difficult memories arise, close your eyes and breathe instead of shoving them back down. Say, I know this is coming up for me so I can let it go. Keep breathing and repeat this as often as you need to, either out loud or in your head. Time alone. Spending time alone is powerful when experiencing significant change and transformation in life. It allows emotions to come up and help you release them. Emotions must come up to come out. For anything to be processed, it must rise. The trick is not to stuff it back down, but to look it right in the face and process it. We will learn how to speed up processing by extracting the life lesson in volume. It was a life lesson, not a life sentence. Once the mind can wrap itself around the why, it can process whatever is stored in the body. Often, the unknown or the lack of closure keeps the emotions from finally leaving once and for all. Cleanse with water. When emotions are heavy, cleansing with water can provide great relief. A cold shower or a soak in a hot salt bath will help cleanse that feeling of being uncomfortable in your skin. When writing, I would have 4 to 5 showers a day. By washing myself with cold water, I could imagine washing away all that had come up and come out of me. Salt baths are also a quick and easy way to cleanse. Keep a journal. When you need to think something through, get your pen out and journal. You don't need to know what you will write, simply put the pen to the paper and see what comes out. Spend time in nature. Nature and fresh air are always a good idea, especially when your soul asks for soothing. Turn off social media. No explanation needed. And, of course, the mantra, this too shall pass. Say it to yourself as many times as you must. Stage 6, distillation. Distillation is further purification. However, in this round of purification, we are clear on what is and what is not serving us. We are now self-aware. This stage is not a purification to find out what is wrong. This is now a purification of all the good and bad behaviors that are helping or hindering us. Once completed, there is nothing left but the soul. Stage 7, coagulation. Coagulation is another word for solidification, becoming whole and solid again. You will recognize this term as it refers to the clotting of blood. Blood solidifies and forms a scab, which is then merged and solidified with the body, becoming one and whole again. This is the unification stage. What is soul coagulation? It is the seventh and final stage of spiritual alchemy and the transformation of one's soul. It is the stage where gold is created. In spiritual alchemy, this gold refers to the moment of atonement when you reach your soul's overstanding. You have completed your spiritual alchemy and become enlightened to who you are. It is the harmony of the soul and spirit. Inner liberation and true change has been achieved through soulful awareness and connection back to oneself, resulting in an aligned inner and outer world. The process can be split into two: putrefaction and spiritualization. Putrefaction is the rotting away of our former selves as the superficial is let go. Putrefaction can be a difficult stage and can involve strong feelings of depression or despair, since we fear losing our identity, which is associated with our old self. Spiritualization, meanwhile, gives great relief as we begin to see the world in a new and luminescent way. It involves letting go of those parts of ourselves that no longer serve us in our present life, and as a result, this step can be accompanied by a blissful feeling of inner peace and contentment. Deformation and self-reformation. When you realize that you can have everything you ever dreamed of, you will wish that you asked for more. Reformation traditionally means making changes to something with the intention of setting it right or improving it. It's often associated with reforming or improving existing systems, structures, or habits. Whereas deformation, on the other hand, implies fully dismantling what was formed. When considering change in your life, it's crucial to discern the depth of the transformation you're pursuing. Are you simply reforming, making slight tweaks to your present self? These adjustments might be on the surface level, failing to reach the core of your issues. True transformation might require something more drastic, a deformation, or a total breakdown of who you are currently, rebuilding yourself from the ground up. This is not just a minor shift, it is a profound evolution, much deeper than a simple tweak or renovation. When you encounter the question, reformation or deformation, it's an invitation for introspection. Are you merely dabbling with the surface level changes, or are you committing to diving deep, shattering your former self to rise transformed? Everyone wants to change, but they forget that to fully change does not mean to renovate, meaning you may be looking for a full deconstruction before you're able to reconstruct. You can decide to completely change, not fix who you are, or how you show up, but decide to completely change characters in the game of life. To do that, you don't fix what you're already working with. You clear the slate and you design from scratch, which means you must destroy and dismantle what was. An actual transformation. If you're fixing something, you are simply renovating or reformatting it. Transformation is to fully change form. Liminal spaces. Purgatory and liminal spaces are similar concepts, different, yes, but both occur at the in-between moments of who you were and who you're going to be next. There are edges to reality. You must understand that if you're transitioning from one reality to the next, think about it like this. You know your life today is not the same as it was in high school. You have markers of milestones in your life, not chapters, but full books, and these are the grand pivotal points where your life was never the same again. Later, you can look back and recall how different it was. These spaces between one era and the next is what is called a liminal space. You can feel lost in these spaces. Everything is familiar, but everything is suddenly different. This phenomenon happens in the game of life and on a soul level. Liminal, adjective, deriving from the Latin word limen, meaning threshold. It represents a transitional or transformational space. A liminal space is often considered an in-between moment when something has ended, but the next thing has not yet begun. Liminality encapsulates the feeling of ambiguity and disorientation in one experience during these transitional periods. It's like being caught between two realities, where the past is no longer reachable and the future has not yet unveiled itself. Liminality is the quality of ambiguity or disorientation that occurs in the middle stages of rituals, when participants no longer hold their pre-ritual status, but have not yet begun the transition to the status they will hold when the ritual is complete. Repurposed and viewed in psychological and philosophical as well as metaphysical contexts to describe moments of transition or change in one's life, where the future is uncertain and the past has already been left behind. Soul solitude. In times of transition and transformation, it is best to be in soul solitude. In spirituality, soul solitude refers to a state of being alone or isolated for the purpose of deepening one's inner connection and understanding. It is a deliberate withdrawal from external distractions and interactions to focus on inner exploration, reflection, and growth. This practice is often used to gain clarity, rejuvenate the spirit, and foster a stronger connection with one's true self or higher power.